Alrighty, we're just going to adjust our camera. If you are logging into the broadcast, can you just let us know that you can see everything and let us know how we're doing? We'll try to give it a little bit more wide angle there. Hi guys, welcome. Hi Claudette. Hi Mary Jane, Jennifer, Sandra, Adele. So if you guys can see and you feel like the sound is really good, can you just go ahead and give me that feedback so I'll know that it's working well and that we can get started. Hi Jennifer. Hi Susan Digman. All right, wow. People are on time today. We got a lot of people already on. Okay, so we won't waste any time. So today I thought I would share some designs that are using some more what I would call basic templates. They're not spinning and things like that. But it's always really great to have an amazing straight edge when you're working, and different straight edges have different features. So you'll see that, you know, some of them have combinations, some of them make it really easy to move over as far as aligning the next row. And so we're going to showcase a few different ones. I'll just put them up here real quick. We won't show them all at the same time, obviously, but so this is a 3x8 straight ruler. So it is Westalee, and I like it because it is about hand size. So if I hold it, you can see it's really easy to hold on to. My hand can control it. So I do really like that. So we'll use this. Then this one is called the Sashly template, and this is really good for channeling. Mine is only 3 inches, but as I've said before, often with a straight line, we can only really go as far as our hand can hold. So that's not really that we need a big long one. As long as we're working a small area, it's nice to have something that fits. So this can be very, very useful for channel work. And I'm going to show you a special technique using this that I think is really awesome, which I did not come up with by myself, but I will share it with you and give proper credit. So the last one is one that a lot of us already have, and this is the 12-inch arc. And I will also share a design with the arc itself. And this is a design that somebody in my ruler group asked for some information about it, and this is an edge-to-edge style, but then we'll use the straight edge and maybe put some fills in there. So the first one that we're going to start with is called the Sashiko Star, and I will tell you it's one of the very first ruler designs I ever taught. So let me kind of put it over here, and this is actually an ancient class sample, which is very messy, but you guys are going to help me make a better one today. So let me bring it up here. I love it. I love how it looks, how you get this kind of 4-pointed star in here and you get these amazing diamonds. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And the first thing I want you to notice is that on these rows, there is a skip, right? So as we build the diamonds, when you're doing the next row of diamonds, you always have to skip a row. And one of the things that you might want to try to do is if you label your rows like A, whatever, A1, 2, 3, then you'll know that, okay, all of my odd numbers this way have diamonds and all of my evens are blank. And then when you go the other way, then you'll have all of your evens will have a row, and then the odds will be blank. They won't have anything going this way. So that's a way that you can kind of keep track of it. So this is kind of a messy sample, but I'm just going to flip it over so you can see how it looks, right? So there's your 4-pointed star right there, and you're going to have these big diamonds. And I'm actually going to show you one additional embellishment that you could do to make this even more interesting if you want to. Okay, here we go. So notice that we have a certain number of rows, right? So we'll start our first diamond on this row. So this will be our skip and a diamond and a skip. So this one will not be empty. This one will have a partial. And so I'll show you how to make the partial on this row. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll pick up our bobbin thread just like we always do. All right, now I want to show you some great features on the ruler that are going to make this easy. So when we make the diamond takes up a square like this, 2 units of the grid. And right here is going to be 3/4 above this line. So when we make the first one, we're going to make the lines on the template 2 lines. Okay, so that means, you know, when we're counting 1 line, 2 lines, and if you have one that has kind of an intersector line like this, that can be great for helping get lined up right on the intersection. So I'll line it up and then I'll show you what I mean. Okay, let's get you in there so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me get a pointer so that we can show you what we're doing. So right here, this is 1 space, and this is 1 space, 1 line, 2 line, and this little intersector, I can make these cross right there on the cross mark. And that's a great visual that really helps me know that I'm in there correctly. And then once I get lined up, I'll just sew to this cross mark right there. So you're on that line. Now, I want to show you, we can make this go a little faster than you would think. Right now, we want to be 3/4, so not right here. We're going to try to align 1 over, and we're going to use our spacing gauge. So not this one, but the next one, and you'll see why we're going to skip in just a minute. I'm going to put my 1 inch. Let's come out just a bit. I want to make sure you can see everything. Okay, we are 3/4 up right here approximately. So as we put this on here, we're going to cross right there. And if we put this at 1, like that, we should end up at the same 3/4 here because the foot will take up some space. And so instead of having to go right to there, we can just continue on to the next one. So we can stop there, but if we can make a longer line, then we get the design done faster. So now the same thing on this side. Again, we can use this intersector, and we're 2 spaces up here, and then we should be at that 3/4. We're also pretty much trying to cross right there through that intersection. But remember that the chalk lines will go away, so it's okay if that's not all perfecty perfect. It won't matter. It's still going to work out. So now skipping this one again, we'll be 1/4 inch away, and we'll use our spacing gauge here, and we'll have that 1 inch right there. Okay. Same thing. Skipping, we want to be up here, and we'll use those 2 spaces, and I've got that same line that helps me intersect the corner, and then we'll be 1/4 inch above that line. So this design can be a little tricky because you're measuring one way on one side and a different way on the opposite side, and that can be a little tricky. You know, it can get confusing. If that is happening to you, then you can flip your ruler to the other side and use the exact same measurements every time. So here, let's see, we'll get ourselves lined up. And this will be the bottom of our design here. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it, but you don't have to turn it. You can just go backwards the same. And the key is you want to recognize where you need to be. So here we're already below our center line. So we don't want to go that way. We actually want to come up a little bit. And I'll just use my straight edge too to do that. So we'll just put our spacing gauge right there. we're going to come up, and this needs to be that 3/4 that we talked about before. You know, we're lined up here. So what we can do is we can see, are we there? Not quite. That's really just 1/2, so we need to come up just a little bit more. So now that's our 3/4, 2 spaces there and the spacing on the foot. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We'll get ourselves on our 1 inch right there. And that should get us right through there.
Could you say again, what size is the grid?
I think the grid is 1.5, and you can use any size grid, and you can determine your own spacing above each line. Like I just chose the 3/4 because it was easy, but you could use a different spacing. You'll just have to make sure you're doing it on each side to keep it the same. So here, if I'm lining up right on that intersection, I'm right on my 2 spaces there, and I can just sew right down. Okay, and then we'll just keep going. 1 inch on this side right here, and that'll give me my perfect space right there. Okay, and then we'll just keep going. So you're skipping that one, and you've got the 2 spaces here. So I think that when we show this, like the first time that we show it, it's going to seem maybe like it's complicated, but you're repeating it. On this side, I'm always putting the 1 inch, and on the bottom over here, I'm using the 2 spaces. So there's not that many things that you have to think about or remember. And we're all in this as the center line, you know, for this row. Okay, and now this one would end up coming right back using our spacing gauge. So you can see how the spacing gauge here is really valuable, and we're also using the lines on here. All right, so look at how pretty that is, right? Oh, that can be just a cool design by itself. So Kate Steele, we are using the Westalee straight ruler, and I like the 3x8, but we have many different straight rulers. It's not the only one. The reason I like this size is because it's pretty easy to hold on to. So it's not getting away from me, and it's not extending too far and poking me or anything like that. So there's different ones. This is the one from the Janome set, but we do have many other ones, and they all are very, very similar, and they're fantastic. I really like them a lot. So as we said, let's go ahead and just skip one of these lines. We need at least 2 rows so that we can create the boundary and get the star. So we'll do one more, and I'll try to do it maybe just slightly faster so you're not waiting around as much. But I'll talk through it just because I think that helps people get the idea. So when we do this next row, we want it to be the same. It needs to match the line that we've already done right here, okay? So notice that this one is the 1 inch up here. So right away, we'll get those 2, let's see, let's flip this around. Then I can use my little straight point right there and get them lined up right on that intersection, which I like. So here I'll show you where if you're finding it hard to do the 1 inch on this opposite side like that, you can just come back into the intersection and you can just put this on this side. Am I lying? There we go. Put it on this side. Here we go. So you could use the same 2 lines right here, but remember you've got to skip that because you're going to come through the center. So you could just put the ruler on the opposite side, and then you wouldn't have to do this. You just use the lines on the ruler. Okay, so, and you'll see that'll get us right through the center, and that'll get us right at that spot. So again, then if we did that, we'll have to flip it each time and use the 2 spaces right there, skipping the one in the middle. So that might be easier for some people, a little bit less to concern about which side am I on type of deal. So skipping 2 spaces, And I'm right at the intersection right there. Okay. Skipping 2 spaces. I find it a little bit easier, I think, for myself to just keep the ruler on the side, the same side, but there's always different choices for different people. Whatever seems to work best for you, we have lots of options. So here, we're gonna be coming down here, so we'll do our 2 spaces, and this is where we would end, right here, right through our intersection. And then we can just line this up. And we want to come up above this line, just like this one. So we'll try to space that as best we can. So we're at the line. That's half because we've got a quarter and another quarter. So we'll go up just a little bit more. We should have about a 1/2 inch visual right here. And then the foot adds that quarter. All right. All right, so here's where we are. We want to cross through that. This will match this triangle right here. And then we'll be 3/4 up on this side. So if we were doing it the same way we did on this side, we're going to line up our 2 spaces right there, right on the intersection. And then we would flip it to the other side and get our 2 spaces lined up right there. See, I can't get used to that flippy-do. I think the hardest part of this one is remembering that that one in the middle is not where you're lining up. You've got to line up this second one. So kind of you're not ignoring this. You want to stitch through that, but you've got to line the ruler up on the one beyond that in order to create that diamond. So that's probably the hardest part of this. All right, and we'll get on this side. Right there. So there's my 2 spaces, and that's my cross through the center. And 2 spaces right there and crossing right through there. And here we'll just come back, and this is our 1/4 inch right there. So at that point we would use that spacing gauge. As per normal, I set it down. Thank goodness I always have a spare. Okay, so before we go on, I'm going to show you something. Let's show you how it looks. We've got our 2 lines, right? They look nice. We're going to show you the embellishment that you can put in here to add some more detail. We'll just do it on one of them since it takes a while, and then you can decide if you like that or not. This one I think is a little easier. So what we want here is we want to be right at this, but a 1/4 inch away. So if the ruler is touching the tip right here, we should be able to sew in right to that 1/4 inch away. So, and the foot essentially will touch the line right there. And then same thing here, if we line it up here, we should touch that a 1/4 inch away. And again, this intersection is kind of what we're looking for. So you do just want to look right there. If it looks like it's really big, kind of look at it and maybe just go to the corner and then reassess. But I think for us, I think we can get right in there. I think it looks pretty good. So kind of getting through there and then getting right to that next intersection there. So this kind of makes it easy. And then if we wanted to do it on this side, what we want is the edge of the foot to touch there. So we actually need a 1/2 inch there, like that, because the whole foot has to fit there. So if the foot is touching on this side, then it will sit right in there like that. Okay, so that's, and again, you can always check your 1/4 inch right there to get that. And again, this is in the interest of not having to flip the ruler over to the other side. Okay, so you can use it on this way, right here. If we're touching, then the edge of the foot here will touch right there. And we're looking for that 1/4 inch. So there's 2 different ways we're sharing, and you need to decide what is going to work best for you. Okay, so that was one way. And then the other way, if we're not flipping the ruler, would be putting your 1/2 inch measure right on the line straight like that, because that's the space that you need. We don't really want to measure like out here because it's the foot that we're trying to fit right there. So then we can also check right there. Looks like we'll cross pretty nicely right in the middle. And then you can also see when the foot hits that line, that's where you stop. And then here, touching at the top, checking your 1/4 inch right there. And checking my 1/4 inch. That just makes sure that I'm not kind of going to go crazy, because if it won't go through that center intersection, I really want it to, because I think it's going to look better. Okay, so let's show you just that little embellishment. That's a fun design just by itself. You know, we could just leave that like that, or we could do it matching on this side and have this, but I want to show you. Let's go ahead and do it one more time on the other side. So it's a 1/4 inch away, so we can make the foot touch right there. That'll be our space right there, is the foot. So touching here and checking this. So this looks a tiny bit big to me. So maybe I'll short it just a little bit to get into the center so we don't have a lot of wonky lines. And then I can readjust from there. And that'll help us make that line nice and clean and kind of not make the star messy. Okay, so here, a 1/2 inch from that center, and touch the ruler, and checking maybe right there to see if we're good. We look okay. Touching the tip, checking your 1/4. And we'll just keep going. You can see that once you kind of get the rhythm, it stops being more complicated because you've got that boundary already from the first line of stitching, and now you've just got a rhythm, getting yourself touching there, checking your 1/4, and you're good to go. Okay, so this one went a lot faster, you can tell. All right, and then we'll just close it with our spacing gauge. All right, and I'll just tack this off. So you would do all of the lines that would go in this direction, okay? And I'll just mention something really quick. We don't want to waste all of our time doing this because we do have some other designs we want to share. But we would put a partial if we had a boundary. So let's say that this was the space that we were working on. All right, make sure I don't lose my spacing gauge this time. So this is open, diamond, open, diamond, open, diamond. So notice that there's nothing here. We would do half of this down on this line down here. What you would do is you would essentially have this cut in half. This would be 3/4 to the point, 3/4 inch to the point, 3/4 and to the point. Because you want to continue this design if your star is going to be in this. You can't leave this blank. You would have to fill this in as a halfway right here, okay? All right, so I love this. This is going to make our star even more exciting. And what we'll do is I think we'll just do 2 rows down in this space. And then down here, I'll show you something else that we can do. So we'll kind of put just a few rows to show you the star, and then we'll add some other designs out here. Okay, so let's see. Oh, let me look at my picture. I want to show you. So where we're coming in with, if this is our diamond, this needs to come in to this juncture right here. So we have to make a little partial triangle right there to start it. So that's just the visual that you want. Like, we don't want to start our thing over here. It's got to come in to where all of these are intersecting together. Okay, so let's see, we'll do this one and this one. So here, this is coming in this way. So that's the 3/4. So in order to space that, you can just put 2 lines like that, and then your foot will go on the reference line right there. And then that's where we can pick up our thread. That's pretty easy, right? All right, so let's get our needle right in the line. And if I was going to tack all the way around my border, like stitch in the ditch or something like that, then I would go ahead and just leave these and then tack it off when I stitch around. Because we're not going to come back, I'll put some tacking stitches in here right now, just so I can make sure this will be secure. So here, I want to just go right into where I want, so I can use my spacing gauge. That, now I want you to ignore the chalk, okay? The chalk no longer matters because you've already got this intersection set. So when you line this up, make sure that you're putting this such that you'll stitch right into the intersection, right? Don't worry about the intersection of the chalk. The intersection that matters now is getting your star right to that point right there. Now, this is again where we're going to put the next one in. We're going to have 3/4 and in, just like we did before. So 2 spaces. Okay, and now we just want to get to the 1/4, and if you have a 1/4 inch eyeball, you can use that here. Right to the corner. And if you're short, like if your corner is a little messy, just make sure that you get into the center before you do the next one. Otherwise, it'll start getting wonkier. So you can actually go ahead and just correct that yourself. So right there, I'm at the intersection with my 2 spaces. And then right into this corner right here. And again, we don't have to, turn it. If we don't want to, we can just go back this way, but I know that means that you can't see, so we'll turn it around. So it's the same thing at this point. We've got the 2 spaces right here. So you can see that this one actually gets a little bit easier. Let's see if we can flip it. We can do it this way now. So we want to try to also see how this line is nice and clean. We want to try to keep that if we can. So this is where we could use the 1 inch right there if we wanted to. If we want to use the ruler all on the one side, you can do that. And here we'll try to connect it to the other line to make it nice and straight. And then 1 inch right there. All right, let's flip it. We got magic. Yes, you can. I did say that before. I think Carol, let me see who asked that. Carolina Monsalvo. Yes, of course. If it was longer, you would be doing the full line like that because it should intersect right there. Because this was so short, we just went ahead and we just manipulated a little bit. And so here's that partial diamond that you'll get. And then down here on this end, we'll have the full diamond. And here you'd have the partial for this one right here that would close out the visual on this side. Okay, so then let's see if we're at the seam, and then we would just scoot over, use our straight edge and our spacing gauge. Okay, oh darn it, I went too far, can you tell? Okay, we'll just go back a little bit. So remember what we said, we're looking for a 1/2 inch approximately right there, because your foot is giving you that additional 1/4. So we'll do what Carolina said. We'll look right here, make sure. So it's going to be a little challenging there to get to the center. So we may have to fudge it a little bit instead of being able to do it all at once. Get into the center and then perhaps adjust this for your 1/4 to go the rest of the way. But that's the straight line that she was talking about. So once this intersection is set, it can be more difficult to complete that line if that won't give you that center right there. So we want to intersect right at the center. So we may need to get that first, right? And then maybe make that correction to finish the remainder of the line. Okay, and then here, 1/4 inch, we'll finish that off. All right, and let's flip it so you can see how we're going. So you can really see the design is starting to form right there. Love it, it's so exciting. Okay, so here we'll use the 1 inch to get on that line. That's going to give us 3/4 above. So we should be approximately the same. And here we'll get in to this 1/4 right here at the center of that intersection. And once I get there, I can see, am I lined up or am I not? It looks like I need a little adjustment. So I'll make that. And then same thing here. If I can get right through the intersection, that's great. I can line it up. And if I can't, then I'll adjust it once I get past that intersection. So we're right there. And then here, if I need to make that just slightly bigger, I can make a small adjustment. All right, so let's show you what we got. Ooh, I love it. So pretty. So here's the shape. We'll kind of pan that out a little bit so you can see. And this can be done as an edge to edge. You can do it as a fill. You can do it bigger with a bigger grid, and then you could put different fills in here or different fills in here. And it's just endless what you can do with this design. And it is a very classic. It also is, I hate to use the word masculine or feminine, but it's not super curvy, but it is very elegant and classic. So this can be great if you're doing something for a guy and you don't feel like something super curvy is really what you want to do. This can be a great way to use your straight edge and to make these designs. And I did use a grid. I did close my grid at the corners so that I could have a little stronger visual, but this is just a straight line design. So I could just come right in here and I could just fill in with something. And what we'll do is, we showed you this double. Of course, we could do the doubles on any of these, but I'll show you one additional fill. If you felt like the design was too wide, then let me show you, we can come in with a fill and we can make it a little bit more dense. So right here, you could line this up and you want to go through your intersections. So again, this might be one where you're, trying to get to each intersection one at a time, because you don't want to miss the intersection. That's going to make more thread gather in the center. So your eye's going to go right there. So you definitely want to hit that. So then we'll line up for the next one. And then line up right here at the corner. Okay, and And then I'll just flip that around so you can see. So just something as simple as that allows us then to make this more dense. And if you had that extra stitching like this, I think that would look so cool to put that extra bit in there. So since we have this design mostly finished, I'm going to go ahead and show you a fun embellishment that you can do with this right here using that. So we've made our straight lines right there. So let me get this open. And for this, I'm even considering taking this out so that I can move around. I'm just going to use this side and I'll use these lines. So I can just line that up. This template, let's get you up a little closer so you can see the lines on it. Actually, let me pull it out with my card. Are you okay? We have any questions? Okay. All right, so let me show you. This is the Sashly template, and it has markings here that can help you. So if you're using one of these lines and you're stitching here, this is telling you how far your spacing is, right? But if we just say we just wanted to use the 1/4 inch, that's the edge right here. And if we wanted to use a bigger spacing, it would just grade out. This is your alignment line right here. So when I put it on, if I line up that alignment mark right on the line so that this is touching, we'd have to flip this over. Here we go. So right away I see I've got to scoot, I've got to move. Right, so I'm on this line, my needle is in line with that already. In order for me to sew out, ooh, you guys are gonna have to just bear with me for a second. The camera is right in my visual way. So let's see if we gotta scoot over just a little bit. So what are we looking for right now? We want the edge of the foot to be touching that center line, because that's going to give us our 1/4 inch spacer right there. Now we can do it. All right, so now we'll line up the edge right there, and now we can make a beautiful 1/4 inch echo. And we'll just go until we can touch the line. This is so tricky with me on camera because I can't barely see. So let's see, we'll scoot up right here in that seam. Again, we're looking to move up until the edge is touching right there. So you can use that as your visual reference and then stick that back on, line up, and then there's your next one right there. And something that could be fun with this design is you could do spaced lines on this side, and then on this side, on the opposite side, and then on the opposite side, and that would create a lot of fun visual interest. Or of course you can do them on both sides. That would compress this space, which would make this star really lift up, so the star would become the focus of this instead of this, because this would all be compressed. And then in addition, you could even put a line in the middle right there if you wanted to, and that would really make this very dense, which would really make your star here lift up a lot. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and we'll tack this off and we'll move on to our next one. So this was the Sashiko Star, and I've shown you, a couple of ways to fill it. You can do this echo fill or a straight line fill or just a center line to create more density. And with our any of our straight edges, you can also do a really unique echo. I've got one that I'll show you that I already did. And it's a little bit different, but it'll just give you another idea. Okay, so I'm going to answer Linda Martindale's question. She said that her Sashlee template is wider than the foot. So You can still use one edge, Linda. So, you know, you can see that I wasn't even using this side. So as long as the foot is touching, that's really all that matters. Then you could still use the numbers. I think it would be harder if you didn't have the same lines out here that I have. If you had wider lines, I think that would matter. But remember that if the foot is touching this, it's a 1/4 inch away. And then every one of these lines is a 1/4. So you can just use it on that one side. It doesn't matter if it's wider. What the wider gives you is that here out on the edge, you could kind of travel, and then you could have an automatic spacing. So if your opening here, say, is 1 inch, then you would get automatic 3/4 inch spacing. Or if it's, you know, 1 1/4, I don't know what it is. I'd have to look it up. But if it was wider, it just would allow you to travel in your seam down here and then use the other side if this was closed. So because mine's open, I'm only going to be using this side anyway. So that's up to you. Yeah, that's certainly versatile. That just gives you more choices. It doesn't limit you. It actually gives you more choices. All right. So let me grab that sample really quick. It looks like this. It's black. I think it might be over there, babe. Patrick? I think it's might be that one right over there on the top. Okay, so while he grabs that, we'll go ahead and we'll move on. Yeah, that one. Thank you. All right. Honey is awesome. He's keeping me straight. Okay, so here's just a little variation. Let's see if it's cleaner on the back. It is a little bit cleaner. Less markings, so you can see. Okay, let's get you up top so you can see that. So this was just my practice. So, and you can see we did this double stitch on both of them, and then we left this open, and then you could use, say, like your 4-inch arc from the sampler set, and you could just fill this in, because this has a center line right through the middle, because the chalk line is right in the middle here. So then you could line up your arc and travel along this echo. Notice that we put one more echo in there with the foot. I'll show you up close. So here's your star right there. And this is a 1/4 inch echo right here. And then if you wanted to do this arc, you could just travel on the echo, right? That way, if you wanted to, you could just double stitch the echo and clean it up later if you wanted to. But I just thought that looked kind of cool. It's very different from the other design. And this could certainly be edge to edge. You would just be doing these spaced like that. And then these would just be something you could maybe fill in on the edges, which would close the visual field. So I liked this combination here with these. So you could do successive rows of this or whatever fill you wanted. And then the echo would narrow this because this was kind of wide, and then you could just do these around the edges on either side to finish out the design if you wanted to. So this is just a completely different design, but using the same basic structure from what I showed you before. So it's endless variation. You can vary it up however you want. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this one has dreaded math. Okay, beware. Buyer beware. Okay, so this is about a 6-inch channel, and this is the 30-degree triangle or 60-degree triangle, right? So this is a hexagon, standard hexagon, and I just want to show you some markings to show you what the relationship is so that you'll understand why this is going to work. So let me grab my straight edge. So with a hexagon, if I connected all of these lines to the center, so I'll try to do that, see if I can make it happen. Just one more line. I just want you to see the relationship because the relationship matters for the design. Okay. This triangle should be the same as this triangle, the same as this one, the same as this one, the same as this one. There's the hexagon right there, okay? And the relationship, when I measured it, when I made this X to start out with, this was 3.5. And it depends on how wide your space is, but a hexagon is made up of isosceles, or of equilateral triangles, where all the triangle legs are all the same. So this is the same, this distance should be the same, this should be the same, this should be the same. Now, because I drew it, they might not be perfect, but they'll be close, right? So, I mean, they could be a little bit off. But that's why our design that we're going to show you is going to work, because these are essentially all of the same size, approximately. Okay? So, even though this one is not a straight line, it is using the 12-inch arc, which is part of our fabulous straight edge right here, kind of. So what I want to show you is we're going to be using the center line. You don't have to mark all of that. You just have to mark the spaced X's, right? So if this is 3.5, then this is 7, and then I make my X, and then 7 and make my X, and that's the marking that you would use to mark this if you wanted to. Or if you had hexagons that you stitched, then you could use this for stitched hexagons. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little arc, and I'm going to show you how you can travel in and out and in, out, to make all these match up. Okay, so let's start up here in the corner. I'm going to have to adjust my camera, guys, because I cannot see. I can't sew if I can't see. Okay, here we go. So if you are having trouble seeing, like if things aren't good, go ahead and let Honey know. We can try and make another adjustment if we need to. All right, so we'll tack that right there. Now, this is the one that I want to show you that is kind of an edge-to-edge style of the design, okay? So here, I'm going to put my 12-inch arc, and I want to get to this center. And I'm loosely trying to put the center of this in the middle right there. And naturally, it kind of will anyway. Like if you just visually center it, you'll get your 1/4 inch right here, because your foot is your guide right there. All right, let's get our spacing gauge. And we'll get started. Now, as you start making the center, once you start sewing this design, we're sort of creating the center by our stitch, right? So when we stop in here, that is now the center. That means that no matter what, now that's the center. So whether it's perfect on the chalk mark or it isn't or whatever, it doesn't matter. Now that's the center. Because we can't create another one. Once we've established that with the stitch line, that's where you're going to go. And then you're just going to follow this back, and then you'll come to the center and out and back and out and back. That's how we're going to complete this design. Essentially, these arcs will be on both sides. So getting that in the middle. Okay, and then come to this one. Here's the center. There's the dot. And we can go either way. We could go this way or the other way. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to put this orange peel on both sides, so it doesn't matter which direction that we go. We can go either way. And then just flip it on this side and line it up with the spacing gauge. So I got my center line roughly in the middle. So when we come up to this part right up here, this triangle, essentially we're cleaning up that triangle. So all those little equilateral triangles that we showed you, we're basically putting the orange peel around each one of them to fill them in. Let's see. It is a little tricky to see today for some reason. My camera angle must be different than it's been in the past. So do you see how like we're essentially going to do one side of it, and then when we get to the other side, we'll come back right through the middle on this other side, and that'll complete that, and then we can just go like this on the bottom. This is something that you could easily use as an edge to edge if you wanted to, and the spacing would just be based on whatever the height of your hexagon. Like you can decide. Mine is 6, but you can make it 8, whatever, as long as this can fit the distance of whatever your leg is, then you could just keep doing this, and you can make really big hexagons, just marking them off. Oh, did I miss a spot? I did. Before we go on, let's get this little guy. We could come back in and get him later, but why? If we can do it now, let's do it now. And then we'll just flip it on this side, trying to get that center line in the center and get our spacing gauge right to the center. So let's talk for a minute while we're doing this. When I have classes of new students, a lot of times students are pushing down really, really hard. Their concept is that ruler's not going to move. It's not going to move. Okay, I want you to think about it like this. Let's pretend that my fingers and my hands are an anvil on the ruler. Is the ruler going to move? No, the ruler will not move. Neither will the sandwich move. So it's important that you press firmly, but you can't put all of your weight on there. You still have to be able to move the sandwich. You just don't want the ruler to move. So that's really important just to keep in your mind as you go. All right, so let's get this next one in. That was a good tip, I hope, for some people. You can tell maybe if you're pushing too hard, if you have your ears all the way up to your shoulders all the way up to your ears, you know, that's a good sign that maybe you're pushing too hard. So here we'll come back, hop over and get this one, and that's how we'll continue filling those spaces in. So I've got that center line, and there's my spacing gauge right there. Now, I've said this before, but I'll just reiterate this. Once you line up your spacing gauge, you want to make sure that the spacing gauge right here is aligned in such a way that it's flush with the template. So I'll try to get you in a little closer when we line this one up so you can see. So there's the center line, kind of in line with the triangle, and I'll put the spacing gauge right there. This has a flat edge right there, and this outside edge, right? Let's see if we can use something for pointing purposes. This edge of this plastic right here should go right where I want the needle to be centered. So I can't have the needle outside of the plastic like this, as if this were the needle. The needle and the plastic are the same space, right? Otherwise, it's more than a 1/4 inch. So in terms of accuracy, if you're trying to set it up like that, it's going to be too far away. So just make sure that you're using the very edge of your spacing gauge to get yourself aligned. That'll make sure that when your needle comes in, you'll know right where it's going to come in. All right, so they look pretty good so far. So checking that space again, making sure we've got that perfect 1/4 inch right there, nice and clean. Now, let's talk about something. Since this is an arc, we are doing some straight line stuff, but this is an arc. This arc is not super deep. It's kind of shallow. If you have an arc that's deeper, even if it's a little shorter, that would allow these to be a more deep curve. So I'll give you an example. Let me grab one. So here, this is a lot deeper. The curve on this is a lot deeper, but it's long too. It's kind of fat. But if we put this one on here, look at how much more of a curve that we could get there. We still could get the space because this is a 4-inch arc, so it's wide enough that we could put that on there. but this one is much, much deeper than the 12-inch arc. So you would get a very much bigger curvature in here, which would change it. These are really shallow right here, but you could get a bigger arc on there if you wanted. So maybe we'll do the bottom with the other one just to show you the difference of how it looks. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll try to finish this one up. So maybe we'll just go down to the bottom and then we'll start doing that other one so you could see the difference. Okay, so how we've done this so far, what you can do is you could go back this way, right here, and that would get you back to the beginning, and then you could do the next row. So you can, you could even do these as triangles if you wanted to, and your crosshair square, the 30/60, the 6-point crosshair square, could help you to make these X's so that you can make the marks, and then whatever your diagonal relationship was, you would just measure this and then double it, and that would be the distance across here for your hexagon. So if that was confusing, I'll say it one more time. So this is the 30/60 mark. So let me show you on my ruler what I'm talking about. So it's even on this one. So if we lined that up, let's see if we can do it right there. There's our straight edge right there. And this 60 goes right through there to make that line. So if I lined my 60 up on there, like that, on this side, that's the line right there. And then if you just made the X with the 6-point crosshair, that would give you that relationship. And then this width, whatever this width is, you'd be measuring that diagonal, and half of that is the size of the leg of the triangle, right? So you could do it any width, like mine is 6, but you could do it 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever you wanted, just by dividing that number in half, and then you're just going to measure those distances across, and that'll give you your hexagon. And the reason that I'm showing this is somebody wanted to see how you could travel with this design, and she actually had like the hexagon, like the shape was all right here, but your hexagons would be connected. So if this is the hexagon, you'd have a little diamond or triangle, and then the next hexagon would be right here. So they don't touch each other. Like this space right here would be not a hexagon, and then the next hexagon would be there. So that's just kind of important to recognize if you like hexagons, if that's your thing. So let's just do a couple rounds with that 3-inch arc so you can just see how the shape would look. And then I'll show you one of the fills that we can do with that because it looks awesome.
What was that pink tool you were pointing with?
It's just a stylus. Here, I'll show it. Somebody was asking about this. I don't even know the name of it, but I just got it at the quilt store, and it's like adds a finger, something like that. It's like when you're sewing, you could hold 2 different places with it, and then this one is kind of sharp and pointy, so if you're trying to grab for piecing, this one can kind of poke and hold things together, and then this one's flat. So can you see that? There you go. But I don't know what it's called. It doesn't have a name on it, but it's great. Okay. So let's line this up again. We want to push this up essentially with this so that we can get to that 1/4 inch. So these are going to be really deep with this one. All right, so let's see what happens on this side. Ooh, I like this. This is pretty. It's really deep. You're going to get a lot more curvature. I do wonder if these might cross over though, as deep as they are. Yeah, they definitely will. Well, so you just created a new design, right? So these will have ones where they'll cross over like that, just because of the depth of the curve. So like when we do this next one over here, you'll get a crossover out here. this one would cross over as well. So you'd get the same overlap right here, but that looks cool. All right, should we do one more? We'll do this one. We'll just show you. We'll kind of line him up nice and straight so that he's straight. And this is how we would travel back to the beginning of the design. And then right here is where I want to show you the embellishments that I have for this. So we'll just leave it right there. All right, so we're going to use this triangle because I want to be at the point. So this is the triangle right here. And if I put my 12-inch arc on there, I'm going to make it touch out on this edge. And I could make it any width I want. So what we'll do right here is we'll just use one line. So if this is the edge of the template, we're lined up on this white line, and the white line is touching that corner right there. Okay? And let's sew. So we'll just put a couple of these lines in. We won't put a million, we'll just put like 3 of them. Stitch back. And then we'll do one more. Okay, and then on this side, same thing, lining it up so we have just one space is what I mean, not one line. And then tip it here, and we've got that one space, so we're lined up on that first line. And this could be a way to put a fill in there. And remember that if you had the other arc right here, you'd be coming to that arc. You know, you'd be touching that arc and come back. So I have some ideas drawn out for how that looks. Just some different ideas for what you might do. Let's see, we'll have to get our camera out just a little. I can't put that design under there. So there you go. So, let's see. Oh, it flipped my camera. Hi guys, it flipped my camera. I'll say hi really quick, but now I got to turn it around. Okay, so here we go. So let's talk about it really quick. So here's your hexagon, and this is kind of what you'd get. And then if you use a little bit deeper arc, you'll be able to get that. You could do fills in there. You could do circles in there. And the one that we were just showing you, if it depends on which direction you're going, but if you do those on the two opposing sides, then they can cross each other like that. So we did it opposite. So what we can do is maybe we'll come over here and we'll show you the crosshatch on the two opposite sides. So we have to be able to get to the opposite side is the challenge. So here we'll do it the opposite way. We'll put these here, and then we'll cross over and we'll do it this way so you can see that crosshatch. Alrighty, so same thing. Let's see. Oh, here we did them from the same point, so that's the challenge, is that we've got to move over. So let's get up to the top. I think we need to move our camera up just a little bit so you guys can see better. There we go. All right, so there's our one line. Here's the second one. And touch. And we'll just do one more because that'll really help that crosshatch show beautifully. If we're going to go through all that work, we want it to really be visible. Okay, and then I'll put the orange peel on here, and we'll just come back to this side. Okay, and now this is the opposite side, right? So when we're doing cross hatching, we need to have adjacent corners. So this is the corner we start with, and this is the opposite corner. So we'll do the same thing. It's just that one line. So it's not kind of like veining. We're actually intentionally cross hatching. Now, I want to show you real quick. This is our orange peel, so stop right there. Don't cross into your orange peel. So I'm getting myself kind of back on the line, checking a little bit slowly because I did move the template, which can make it difficult to stitch right back on the same line, right? So if you are going to stitch out and back, stitch out and back, and then you can let go. Don't let go in the middle, like I did. So touch at the orange peel. Ooh, I went a stitch too far. Try not to do that. One stitch less is better than one stitch over. So then your eye kind of goes right to that. If you can just, even if you're like one stitch short, your eye will fill it in. But if you go over, your eye will just jump on it. All right, so there's the crosshatch. Love it. I just think it looks so awesome. So you can see that would be a really cool fill to put inside of your hexagons. I think that would look so great. And that was easy. I could make them bigger, like if I used a bigger angle or a wider space, because this is kind of narrow, then you can even make these lines wider. So we just use 1/4 inch, one little space right there, but you can certainly make them bigger, and I think it looks just awesome. So here's what I was, oh, sorry, it looks like we're having some connection issues. Thank God it came back on for us. So notice right there how it goes over the line. That's what I mean. So like when you look at that, your eye doesn't jump there, but your eye definitely goes right there. So it's better if you're one stitch short than to go over. So just something to think about. Nobody cares, right? But we all do care. So just so you know. Looks like undies. Yeah, okay. Or maybe like a scary bikini. I don't know. Okay, let's go ahead and tack that off real quick. Okay. All right. So I need to cut this. All right, and then I think we have one more little thing to show you. Where's that other piece? This one. All right. Oh, now we'll do an easy one because you guys are probably tired like me. All right, so this is just a square, and this is the center line, right? These are just the crosshair lines. And one of the things that we can do to create a little visual interest is changing directions with our lines. So right at the outset, we'll just get our thread up here at the corner. And this one is where I will use that the Sashly template. So we'll get that out. So you can see the center lines right there. I can line that up, and if I'm touching right here, I'm going to have to keep close to this edge because there's nothing here. So, just if you take the key out, remember that you've got to keep that aligned on this side. But I'm lined up here, and I can just sew down this line really easy. So that's one of the things that the Sashly is really good for. It's great for ditching or getting that center line really well lined up. And then when you just move things down, you can just easily line up. So I've got the two reference lines. I've got this one and that one. So that definitely can help keep me lined up. I have to say, it's taking a little extra thought to make sure that I'm touching on the one side because I know that there's a channel. So if that's you, put that key back on. Okay, so right here, if we need to move over, right, so we've segmented kind of this area, and we can just turn this, and now we can just go out a little bit. And we can use this to judge. We can just put this here and see what line we're on and say, okay, have we gone far enough? No, we want to go a little further, so now we'll go a little further. And when I turn this, I can use this as the visual reference, and I can say, am I there? Mom, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Nope, not quite. Okay, so right there, now I'm 1 inch away. So I've got these 3 spaces, and I've got that great visual reference line, and now I can just sew. And then I can just move that down and keep that right on that same line. And I can just keep going, just get everybody lined up. And that's going to help keep those lines really, really clean and precise. And now we're in the border. So if we wanted to, same thing. I can line it up. I've got great visuals right there. And, you know, I can always use my own visual acuity. I can look right there and say how far up. But I can create my own pattern. You know, just because we did 1 inch this time doesn't mean we have to do 1 inch the next time. Let's pick something different. Oh, we went too far. So let's back up. Oh, I love how easy that is to line up. Okay, so this is where I need to be. Notice that the ruler foot isn't touching yet. So we'll just take 1 or 2 stitches, make sure that he's in contact. And now we'll do a different spacing. So super easy to get this lined up and just move right down the line. So it's very convenient. Now this one is the 3 inch. It's not very long, but we do have a longer one that's 6 inches. And some people say that it's for long arming. I say if you want it a little longer, 6 inches is not that long. So here we can line up the edge of the template, and that'll give us that 1/4 inch echo right there if we just line up the edge like that. So if you want something just a little bit longer, you feel like that will give you a little bit more length, especially if you're working with bigger blocks, then that's a great tool to have so that you can have that. Okay, so let me just show you, before we get too far, what we've done. So we've created this pattern, 1 inch, I think that looks 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. So then we could just keep this pattern going. So we'll get lined up, lining up this line and this line so that we can travel. So we said 1 inch, so let's travel a little ways, and then we can use this to say, are we at that 1 inch? We almost are. So there's 3 lines. Looks like maybe we need like 1 more stitch perhaps. Perfect. Okay, so now we can just start going. I can even bring him down so that I have more room. And what's nice is having all these lines out here. A lot of times, you know, when we do a certain thing, we don't necessarily get them always straight. Like, you know, you'll see they kind of start going to wonky. Well, when we have more lines like this on here, it definitely helps you to keep yourself aligned better. So let's see, we got to look out here is the line that we've got to check because we're going this way. So perfect, there we go. So now we set a 1/2 inch, so we won't go as far this time before we check. So you can see right there, I can see automatically I'm not quite there. So get myself lined back up. Maybe take 1 or 2 more stitches and then I'll be there. Oh, just 1 too many, right? So then get it up there, get it lined up, and I'm ready to go. Oh, I did it wrong, you guys. Oh, well, I just created my own spacing, but look at that, okay? So this was supposed to match, but we just created our own pattern. But let me explain something else. Sometimes if we're doing lines like this, parallel lines, one thing that is really useful is making them wider. So maybe on here, we've got all these numbers right here. Maybe we start off making our lines 2 inches apart. Then we can come back in and fill in lines closer together. And what that does is that helps control draw up on the quilt so that it doesn't crunch everything. Because if we just did like 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, we could do that, but you're going to get a ton of draw in right away. Whereas if we did some wider spacing and then we kind of came back and we filled it in, then that's going to act sort of like a base, and that's going to stabilize the quilt a little bit better. So it's sometimes really useful to go ahead and make those wider spaces and then come back in and fill them in. And some people will say to go bi-directional, like go this way and then go that way and then go this way and then go that way. You can, but you can also go the same direction because we are free motioning. We're not working with a walking foot. This foot should not be compressing the fabric like a walking foot and forcing travel. So we should be able to go any direction without any problem because the foot is not forcing the fabric in a direction. Because it's kissing. It should be above the fabric and letting the fabric move just freely under there. So, okay, so let's see. So we are a little bit early today, so I'm going to just scroll through real quick and see if we have any questions. Real quick. So if you have a question and it did not get answered, can you do me a favor and just put it in there right now so I don't have to go through all 100 of your comments and find it while we're on air. Sissy Young says, I have the 3 and the 6 inch and I use the 6 inch more often for stitch in the ditch and love it. Ooh, let's do that. Let's comment on that really quickly. I think I have something we can use for that really fast. You know where you got that green little strip in that bag? Could you just get one of those little 2.5 inch strips really quick and we'll use that? It's in that red bag right there. It's hiding. Sorry, too many red bags. Okay, so 2.5 inch strip. We'll just cut this really fast and I'll show you something cool and then I'll show you the ditch factor. All right. So we're just going to use this scrappy fabric, so just ignore all of the stuff that's on it, but you'll see the cool factor of how we can sew this on. So if you wanted to, there are great options for piecing as you go. So like I could have fabric under here and this be batting and I could piece this if I wanted to. And it's especially good if it's like an where you don't have lots of intersections or anything like that. Like if you're just doing row after row after row, this could be a really great way to quilt and to stitch at the same time. So right here, the foot is 1/2 inch, right? So 1/4 inch would mean that the edge of the foot would be touching the edge of the fabric. So let's get that set right there, get our needle set. And if this was going to connect to something out here, we wouldn't put the needle right at the outer edge. We would actually put the whole thing at 1/4 inch. So I'm going to spin it so you can see what I mean. You'd have it lined up on both directions, right? Because then this seam is going to have another 1/4 inch over here if you put a piece on this side. Okay? So we'll just line up the spacing gauge so you can see that relationship right here. So this 1/2 inch, we want the ruler 1/2 inch from the edge of the fabric. And, you know, I would test it in a few places. So we'll tack that stitch right there and then we'll sew. Okay, and then I'll check again, maybe 1 or 2 places and kind of help make sure that the fabric can feed smoothly. You may want to raise the foot just slightly when you're doing this, just a tiny bit. That way you can make sure that it's not going to be pulling your fabric or waffle weaving it. So right here, we'd stop when we get to the end. That's the 1/4 inch and we'll tack that off. Okay, and we'll take it out. Okay, and we'll cut that. This is just allows for some embellishments and things like that. So this is stitched on and it's quilted, right? But we're just making a ditch so that we can show you our ditching ruler, how great it is. So just in order to kind of keep all of this down, I'll stick a little pin here just to help hold it, because otherwise it's going to kind of flop up a little bit. So let's put our Sashly on there because we have a ditch now. And I like to start with my needle actually in the ditch first. That's where I would want to get everything seated when I started. So we'll pull that thread up. And we'll get our needle right in the ditch so that we're not catching this mountain fabric. We're down in the valley. We're on the black side. Okay, and then we can line this up. And we can use our line, and when we look at it, I want to show you what I'm looking at. Let's see if we can get you to see what I'm seeing. When I line this line up, this white line, I want it to be just on the black side, not on the orange, right? Because the needle essentially should go right down the line. And then I can just make sure that my ditch is nice and closed. And let's sew. Okay, and then when I get done, I can just move it down, get it lined back up, checking that, make sure that you're here, you're just on the black side, because we want that aligned so that we're in the valley. We don't want to catch that orange fabric because that is the mountain. All right, and we'll just kind of go down off of the edge because we can. All right, let's pull it out and let's see how we did. Pretty good, huh? So that is really, really useful. So you can see if we pull this back, we're not catching that, but we are in the ditch. If you look straight on, you can't even see that thread. And that is a 40 weight thread. And if I was ditching, I would likely use a lighter thread, like 50 weight maybe, or 60, because that'll hide a little better if it's thinner. And you can also maybe make your machine go just maybe a little bit slower, because you can take a bigger stitch in the ditch also if you want to do that. And that will still also look really good. So let's see if we can just kind of let you look at it straight on. Right, so that looks so good. And that's ditched in there and looks great. So let's see how it looks on the back. There's your straight line. I don't know what that is. Oh, that, because wow, okay, that was our stitch line and our ditch line. We did good until we got here. That's pretty awesome. We're able to get pretty much right in that ditch. That's amazing. All right, so that's the last thing that we wanted to share today. And your straight edges are really, really powerful. They can do so many things for you, and they also just make amazing fills. It's not that you have to do anything complicated. Just having spaced patterns is great in and of itself. So I just wanted to expose you to some of the different ones that we have, so you know that you have some choices. And I know that everybody does, a lot of people have that 12-inch arc, and I think it's great. But the one reason that you may want to get a bigger one is the 3-inch arc is only going to give you up to a 1-inch spacing. So let me show you. Right? You only have 3 lines right here, and the foot will add that additional quarter. So this is only going to give you up to that 1-inch spacing. If I wanted to use one of these other ones, I have an endless amount of spacing, and I also have this as a square up intersector that would allow me to do a perpendicular alignment as well. Plus, on some of them, you can get these different angle marks, which can be really great for designing. And then, of course, on this one, we showed you how you can flip it and you can use it to reference the spacing so you can know if you've gone far enough or not. So these are really, really great tools that can be very, very valuable. So it's good to have different ones because they do different things and there's different options for you when you're using them. Okay, so let's see. We'll go back to the questions real quick and then we're pretty much done for the day, I think. Favorite thread for ruler work or quilting? Okay, so I'm going to answer the question from Gail Stewart Key. She asked, what is my favorite thread for ruler work or quilting? So if you've known me for some time, you've been watching me for a while, I love this question because what I'm going to tell you is whatever you want. You should use whatever you want. This is YLI cotton machine quilting thread. It's 40 weight, variegated, and I love it. It is totally gorgeous. This thread right here, this is YLI silk, 100 weight silk thread. So if I were to use this variegated thread in here, this would look mess. That would just be horrible. It would look awful. Because this thread is matching and it's so fine, I can just fill this up and the feather is what jumps out at you, because this is what we want your eye to focus on. The only function of this part right here is to push that fabric down, not to be visible. So this really helps your eye draw into the feather because this is 40 weight. It has a lot of presence. I love polyester thread. What I sewed on today is Isocord 40 weight 3-ply, and I think that the Isocord or a similar 40 weight 3-ply thread in polyester is very freeing and forgiving for a new sewer with ruler work. It's a very, very strong thread, and it can take a lot of pore management from the user and still look amazing. So it's very freeing and flexible when you're getting started, but I use every thread as long as it is good quality. I recently sewed a quilt where I did an Aurifil 28 weight cotton on the top and a 40 weight Aurifil cotton on the bottom, and I didn't have a single thread break for a king size quilt. I was ecstatic. It was fabulous and it looked amazing. And I use polyester threads. People say they're only for embroidery. No, they aren't. My quilts would beg to differ. So if you like a brand or you want to try it, I recommend buying one spool of a color that you really think that you would use, like maybe a neutral, because you can use neutrals for most anything. Quilt with that on some things that you think that you'd like to try that thread. If you love it, then go ahead and try a few more colors. And if you don't love it, then don't buy any more. Always try to get a good quality thread because they do put more into the production. Like they do something called double gassing, so maybe they singe off a lot of the extra fray, so the core is stronger, so the thread is stronger. There's different things. So a lot of the major brands are pretty well known, and people know if those are good threads or not. I mean, if you've never heard of this brand, well, then I would only buy one spool. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't try it. But all different weights are going to do different things. So if I have a busy back and I don't want the thread to build up, I'll use a lighter weight thread on the back that just blends in, and I'll use all the pretty showy whatever on the top. But you should just try it. Try different things. Try sparkly thread, try variegated thread, try fat thread, skinny thread, whatever, because they will do different things. They'll have different effects, and you should try whatever you want. If it looks good to you, give it a try. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to scroll really quick. So some people were asking about videos. I just saw that. So on So Steady, all of our educational videos are still posted. So if you like Donna McCauley, or you like me, or you like whoever, you could type their name into the search engine and you could screen for videos or for live broadcasts. And then you could scroll through and see what topics that they have. Or if you wanted a specific template, a lot of them will put that in their description. So if you search by such and such template, you may be able to find something that an educator did highlighting a certain template. I try to do that with all of mine. We do have a ruler work support group that I manage on my FabriKated Quilts page. It's literally says like getting started with Westalee and So Steady products. We have our Westalee by Me, which is managed by So Steady, and all of our educators are on there. So if you have a question, you can type that in and we try to answer it. We all screen it. I've seen lots of our different educators responding and encouraging and commenting on there. So they are, you can probably get a really quick answer there because there's lots of people helping. And then let's see. It's Nancy Ferguson. If you press your seams open, does it matter which side you stitch on in a regular quilt? So I'm going to answer Nancy's question because I think, yes, it does matter. Can you sew on either side? Of course. Of course, there's nothing to stop you. But think about it this way. If this is the quilt top and your needle is going that way, the needle is pushing the excess woven fabric down and the batting down and piercing down. So what you'll see on the back, let's see if we can even find a sample. Okay, so just let's look really close, right? This is the top. It's hard to see, but that's the top, right? And in my own opinion, I just don't think that the stitching looks quite as clean or good as the needle has to travel through all of those layers. You can see there's just a little bit of waffle on the stitch, and it just doesn't have quite the same look as it does on top. Can you do it? Yes, do what you want. No quilt police is going to come after you, but my preference would be, even if I was just doing random edge to edge, I still would want the top of the quilt to be on the top if that is what people are going to be seeing most often. So there's your answer for that, but you should do what you want to do. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. If you stitch in the ditch with open seams, you can catch the thread and no fabric. Okay, so I'm going to comment on Carolina Monsalve was answering somebody who was asking about if you have open seams. Okay, you guys saw when we did this, we're stitching in the ditch. We're not reinforcing this at all because the seam is folded that way, but we'd be stitching in the ditch right there. So we're not actually like reinforcing any seam by stitching in the ditch, because it's not like we're sewing on top here where we're double tacking this, right? It's just easier. When we stitch in the ditch, there's less fabric. Here, there's the top layer plus the two seams plus the bottom layer in this case, whereas here there's just one. So what happens then, the needle will go through this more easily, and that makes it easy. But Carolina does have a good point. If we have open seams where this is connected and they're both pressed this way, the only thing right in the middle holding that together is that thread. So if you want to stitch in the ditch with open seaming, here is the recommendation. Your piecing stitch should be much tighter, okay? Because you need more support there to hold that together. You can do it, but understand what is going to happen. You may even want to just make a little scrappy test piece before you do it, before you make the quilt with those open seams, and see how that quilts up and see if that bothers you or if it doesn't bother you. A better idea is, if you are open seaming, go over the seams somehow with your design so that everything is reinforced and you're not worrying about that. Stitching in the ditch looks awesome, and I definitely do it when it's necessary, but make no bones about it. It is harder. That is not a cakewalk. It requires a lot of attention, a lot of precision. It's very time consuming. It looks great, but if you're a new quilter, I would avoid it. Go on to something else that's a little more fun and save that for when you feel like you have the control that you want to have. Okay. Oh, sorry, that's a lot of pontificating. Do what you want. That's what I say. If it works, do it. Okay. Guys, I think we're done for the day. I don't see any more questions, but as always, I go back through the feed every day and I check it and make sure that I've tried to answer whatever questions. So if something comes up, you can go ahead and put it on there. And I will share this to all the usual places. And that's it for today. So have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I really appreciate you. Nancy, I was using the 3x8. Nancy Ferguson asked what straight edge I was using. It's the 3x8. And it's definitely available from Sew Steady. The one I had was a Janome one, but we have just the regular 3x8 straight edge, and I really love it. It's a good size. Okay, that's it. I'm hanging up. Have a great day. So reminder, next week I am traveling. I will not be available on Sunday. I will be driving. So I will not be posting anything. So you guys have Sunday off. Have dinner with your family. Have a fun weekend. practice quilting if you want to or not, but I will not see you next week. But I'll be back after that. And I appreciate all of my social media family. I love you guys. So have a great day. Bye-bye.